I'd like to see you do that. That's all I'm
I
missing.
wouldn't get myself in that position in the first place.
Anyway, enough of that messing about. Another new episode of Doctor Who to review. Woo!
Yes, it is. But it's been a sad day. The gods have decided to cry because Doctor Who's not on for another week.
That's just what happens, unfortunately. But we do have another episode to review because we haven't talked about The Devil's Chord yet. This was broadcast on the 11th of May along with Space Babies, written by Russell T Davies and directed by Ben Chessel. Great direction, which we'll get onto in a bit, to be fair. And honestly, this was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Much
fun.
I thought this was a much bigger improvement. I said much bigger. Right? It was an improvement on episode 1 for me.
Yeah.
I think now I've rewatched both of them. There's a few more bits with episode 1 that I just think, really? Because there was a bit of recency bias, I think, involved with that video, the review we did. But you know, that's what happens. But this one, I think, is a lot stronger.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that is down to Jinx Monsoon as Maestro.
Yes.
Who I think puts in one of the most memorable performances for a Doctor Who villain we've had in a long time. I can't think the last person. She's,
John Sims Master.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be one of the masters. Maybe, obviously Neil Patrick Harris as a Toymaker was great, but this is a performance, I think, it's brilliant. Maestro is the god of music, and is their whole shtick is they're taking music away from the world, essentially. Maestro is the first non-binary villain we've ever had in the show.
Yes.
Which is quite interesting. I quite like the way, keeping the diversity that Doctor Who is famous for. It's only a good thing, and if you don't think it's only a good thing, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that the way that that's handled as well, it's in the first scene, and
it was funny though.
They're talking to Timothy Drake.
Yes.
And they go, I'm them. You're who? Yo-ho! All of that. Like, it's not done in like a taking the mick kind of way. It's just them being like, I ain't got time for this. I've got bigger things to worry about at the minute.
Like, I'm trying to take over the world. Keep your silly opinions to yourself. Just let me kill everyone. Effectively.
It's a great opening scene. It's a great opening performance. I love the breaking of the fourth wall by them playing the first couple of bars of the theme. And then the intro being just on that single piano note before blending properly back into the theme as it kicks in.
Yeah.
And then it finishes then on the jukebox in the TARDIS. So it still keeps that fourth wall breaking either side of the credits, which I thought was very cool. And I know we talked about this a lot in the last episode, and I'm probably going to keep saying it every episode this year, but the two of them are just phenomenal. The chemistry, it's like I said before, it's absolute electricity between them. And they're just having fun in the TARDIS, and Ruby's comes up with an idea of, why don't we go see the Beatles? And the Doctor's like, oh, how have I never thought of that? And they have that great scene where then, I quite like this because it doesn't often happen, but Ruby's like, wait a minute, won't I look a bit daft, like out of place? Which is, I thought was a bit strange considering what she was wearing. You could have probably passed that as a 60s outfit, their sort of checkered dress and the blue jumper. I thought that, it's not dead on 60s, but I think you could have gotten away with it. But I think the outfits they have afterwards are much nicer anyway. Superb costume work and hair and makeup in this is just, it's some of the best you've ever seen in Doctor Who. But I love the scene of them running away all excited, saying the Doctor's got wigs galore, and he comes out with his big afro and the 60s pinstripe suit with them having a little sort of, not a dance, but they're sort of like just shimmy along to California Soul, which is a banger, by the way. I was very happy when that was in there. But it's just the dynamic of those two having fun is just, it properly just butters my toast.
Yeah. No, it's really nice to see a good TARDIS team. There's no animosity between the two characters like you saw between 12 and Clara.
Yeah.
You don't have that, oh, I'm just socially awkward stuff from Jodie Whittaker.
Yeah, I think the Doctor now is at the point where there's that can't really happen, just because the Doctor, they're so old now that they've been around humans and Earth and everything for so long. You should be knowing what they're doing. Yeah. But we're not getting into that because that's we've done that before. But we get the great scene of them sort of going into Abbey Road, or EMI as it was back then,
sneaking in, pretending to be tea people,
and given that the Beatles and I've forgotten who's
Black.
Yeah, and there's the producer as well.
Producers for both of them.
Who's the real, well, not the real one, but is eerily similar to the guy who was the producer for that album, and his name's gone out of my head. It's fine. I'm not a Beatles professional
No,
main.
but they didn't write songs about dogs.
No, but they were funny though. The
Oh
dodgy
gosh,
songs
yeah.
are so funny because they're meant to make you uncomfortable. And what I liked about it though is it does still feel like a Beatles song. It's just a Beatles song. It was just like, what if the Beatles were just really, really
Yeah.
and I think it's the look on both of their faces as they're watching them singing about the dog, and even when the chorus kicks in, you can sort of like it's got that Beatles sound,
Yeah.
but it's definitely not a Beatles song.
Yeah.
And
No,
then you get
it's not a masterpiece,
you
shall we
know,
say.
and you get Cilla Black, and the same thing happens again, and Doctor, oh, Cilla,
Yeah.
and the orchestra, which is just completely, it sounds like a school orchestra. Did you ever
Yeah.
do you ever play an instrument? Can you play any instruments?
I can play the saxophone and a flute.
Oh, that's good. I play saxophone. I used to play saxophone as well, but were you ever in the orchestra in school?
No, I purposely avoided it.
I tried to
I did
avoid it.
attempt jazz band, but no, I didn't
Well, we
go
had
for it.
it was like a requirement, I think, if you were learning instruments in our school, you had to be in the orchestra, and it always sounded terrible because it's all just kids playing like instruments. No one's, and I was just like, what is the point? It sounds awful. And when the Doctor and Ruby go into the main studio, and there's the orchestra in there, and they're so like out of key and they're out of time, I was like, this is exactly what my school orchestra sounded like. And
No,
we hadn't had the god of music sucking like the musical ability out of the whole world. We were just terrible.
yeah, it's like when you go. Did you have to sing songs in school, primary school
Yeah,
and stuff in assembly? Yeah, yeah, it sounds like that would to an adult now. It's just like the
yeah.
parents are, oh, that's so good, well done. It's like, oh, I'm gonna kill my kid. He can't sing. He's not gonna make me money. That took a turn. Sorry. It's yeah.
If anyone from social services is watching, Tom luckily doesn't have any children. When they're investigating and they sort of, the Doctor and Ruby each take Paul McCartney or John Lennon to sort of try and investigate what's going on, and Paul McCartney's having that scene where they're talking about this chord that could bring music back, and they feel like it's just trapped away somewhere. And as he's saying the letters or the letters, the notes, the soundtrack is matching it. And I think that was great. That was very clever. I think there's some great Murray Gold stuff in here.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you kind of have to be.
He's clearly just seen this episode, seen the script, and gone, great. I'm going to have an amazing day in work.
Yeah. The only thing with this, I was going to bring this up later, but with this, I think I was so fully expecting this to be a musical level on like something like Once More with Feeling from Buffy. I thought we were going to have like a few, like 4 or 5 full songs throughout it. You know, and there's a couple of things where they start teasing like when California Soul starts playing, I was like, oh, is this going to turn into a bit of like is it going to be like a cover of this, or is it just going to lead into like an original? And it doesn't. And then you get when the music battle happens, it's all on instruments rather than singing. And when Ruby's trapped in the song, it's hinted she's sort of like humming notes, but I was like, oh, now they're going to sing. And then all we really get, and then there's the other one of Maestro talking about the toy maker. You know, Daddy was so bad, Daddy was so mean. Like that could have been a full song as well, and we only get the full song at the end.
As well.
Yeah,
I enjoyed that little snippet.
there should have been full songs. Right? That's one of my few criticisms of
I
this.
wanted a song from Maestro.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like I
That's the
wanted a
main thing,
full.
song from Maestro. You get a villain song, you get a hero song, and then you get a the day saved song.
Yeah,
That's all. That's all we ask.
All we got in this was the Day is Saved song, which is great, and it's really, and we'll get
Yeah.
on to that. But I would have just liked a few more songs peppered throughout.
Yeah.
But I do like the fact that it uses, like, we have that great scene of Ruby playing the piano, playing her own theme, and there's no dialogue; it's just the music. And then we
Yeah.
get the opposite of that later on, then where there's a scene in complete silence, and that really builds the tension well. And it's so well directed with the angles and the slow motion tuning fork into the puddle. Like I loved all of that. It's really, really good. Get Ben Chessel, but I think he's down for doing another one this year. I can't quite remember
hope
which
so.
one. I want to say it's episode 4, but I could be wrong.
We'll find out when it comes out.
Yeah, but this was directed brilliantly. I really, really liked this, and it was just, it's great. And like the scenes with Maestro in the reflections of things.
Yeah, when McCartney's singing in it.
Yeah, and you just get the flashes of them in the like the spoon and the kettle and things. And there's another Susan Twist cameo.
Yes.
Another one. Of her playing like a tea lady. And what's clever about it, if you notice that the Doctor, whilst is speaking to her, he's got his back to her, and as he faces her, she turns around, and then so he never sees her face. It's well just placed there. It doesn't feel too forced. They sort of lean and go, oh, it's extortionate. As he turns, she turns away, and then as he turns again, she turns back. So he never sees her. So that'll probably play into something a little bit.
Yeah, it could be.
But what is going on with him? We don't know.
But no, then we get this before the piano is played on the roof. You get this great scene where the Doctor's talking about back in 1963, where it
Yeah.
all began as for us Who fans. Totter's Lane, where you're staying with Susan at the time. Obviously, before we kidnapped Ian and Barbara, allegedly. Uh,
I like the. It's very sweet that though, and it's good for the
yeah,
fans because although this is going to be really new, and I've been saying for ages I want Doctor Who to be new. I don't want to stop relying on all of this stuff and all the baggage and everything. Little mentions like that are great.
it does the fan service
Yeah,
well.
because that's just the thing. It's something that me and you could go, oh yeah, but when we're watching it with the boys, for example, who haven't seen Classic Who, it doesn't matter. It's insubstantial. It's just a bit of dialogue. But
Yeah,
me and you
it's a
could look at
nice
each other and
little
go,
touch. Yeah,
which is exactly what happened.
and there also may be a point where Susan comes back at some point because I feel that's been a bit teased.
Yeah,
From this
we both
scene.
came away from that scene going, well, Susan's coming back then.
Yeah.
That's happening. Because
Yes,
that was
yeah.
a very explicit, I think there's been passing references to Susan before, but never a full-on conversation about her. And I love the
No,
reaction of Ruby sort of being like, well, you've got to go and see her. You've got to, really, and it plays on that thing of them both being lost from their actual families. And she knows that the Doctor actually might have some family out there. She's like, well, go see her, go find her. And he hasn't got a clue what's happened since the destruction of Gallifrey version 2.
Yeah.
And I like the theory that the death particle could have been, universe wide, and the Doctor only just escapes it. So it could have killed all the other Time Lords that weren't just on Gallifrey. I mean, who knows? I'm sure we'll get some explanation when we see Susan again. I said, when is it going to happen? We probably will.
Yeah. And then obviously Ruby's there playing the piano as we've discussed, and Maestro comes out of the piano then
Yeah.
to a wonderful callback to the giggle.
Yeah, they do the full on, like the
She does the
arpeggio laugh.
and then you get the arpeggio from the giggle episode as well.
Yeah, and I was expecting there to be references to the giggle in this, but it almost feels like a full on sequel. Because
Yeah.
I think, especially with the link that the toy maker is Maestro's father, but not, obviously the toy maker wouldn't have been a nice father, but the idea that
No, otherwise there would be no song about it.
yeah, but I love the parallel between whereas the toy maker was making everybody play his games, making everybody sort of turn against each other, whereas this Maestro's doing the opposite by like they're the god of music, and their thing is like to suck the music out and like
Yeah.
live off the potential of the songs that can't be sung
Yeah.
and the music that can't be played and stuff. I thought that was very cool. As a very like an opposite, almost like a sort of rebelling against their father kind of thing.
Yeah.
That was like, I caught that.
Suck all the joy out of life, basically.
Yeah, and sort of the idea that that would then lead humanity into wars and things. I don't know why they're fighting because they haven't got that expression that music can give people.
Yeah.
Which I thought that was very clever. One thing I am going to have a little bit of a dig at here is that there's a lot of things that seem to be getting cut when they really shouldn't be, because I don't know, like Russell T Davies said a while back when the jukebox was first seen in the giggle, is that there's the great scene in the first episode where Shooty and Millie pick a song to play on that. And that's apparently supposed to be Push the Button by the Sugar Babes, one of my karaoke go-tos. So obviously I was very excited. And that's why they keep saying in the first episode, oh, push the button, push the button. And it's like, why do they keep doing that? Because when it came on, we were even going, oh, push the button.
Yeah, we were having a bit of a sing-song at midnight.
But like that would have been so much more sense to keep in. And I think there's another thing in this where he's saying to Ruby, oh, when I first met you, I told you about the toy maker. And it's like, no, you didn't.
Yeah.
It's in the script. If you go on the website, it's in the script, but it's not in the episode.
Yeah, you'd think if you're going to cut that scene, you need to kind of edit the script a bit to avoid stuff like this happening. Because
or don't
I've
just
watched
cut
it
stuff
3 times and I've never heard him mention a toy maker.
No, it's a case of it was obviously there in the script and it was filmed, but they've obviously canned it in the edit without thinking, oh, there's that bit in episode 2 where he explicitly says, oh, remember that time I told you about the toy maker? And we're like, did you?
Yeah.
And the time jump is something that I'm still making my mind up on, because while it's cool to advance it and we don't need to keep going through the new things because that was all rushed through in episode 1 and we could just have the Doctor and Companion on adventures, we do miss out on some of that development for Ruby and like the Doctor meeting Carla and Cherry. I assume we're probably not going to see that first meeting. That we might do, I don't know. But I feel like that would have been mentioned earlier in the episode, because there's a bit where when they're running away from Maestro, Ruby goes, oh, but you never do this. And it's like, how the hell do you? You've only been around for like a day. What are you on about?
It's literally gone from Christmas to just out, literally straight after Christmas to June.
Yeah, and there's no mention of it until like halfway into this. And I just think that if you're going to cut stuff, that's fine. There's loads of things that get cut. I think Cilla Black was supposed to have a bit more to do in this episode, and I think that was quite cut down, judging from what the actress said on Twitter. But don't cut stuff that's explicitly related to and like explicitly mentioned in either the rest of the episode or episodes following it. I think it was just a bit bizarre, and I've just noticed it. And once or twice, it's fine, but there's a few things now where I've gone, wait, no, hang on, when, what?
Yeah.
But that was it's a slight little nitpick, but it's a nitpick nevertheless, and I'm gonna damn well say it. I need something now the logo's been fixed, sort of hyperfixate on in terms of like, just sort it out.
Sort out your editing, please, BBC.
Yeah.
But no, so you touched on it earlier with the absolute no sound.
That was a great scene. I really liked that.
So the Doctor's like realised. So we've just found out as well that Maestro is part of the pantheon that the toy maker goes on about right at the end when he's like, oh, my legions are coming, and he's like, I can't fight this at all. He's running from Maestro with Ruby, and he's trying to keep quiet so they don't get caught. And it's very rare we see the Doctor in that sort of state anyway.
Yeah, it's the first time for Ncuti as well as the Doctor where he's had to have a bit where going, oh, I don't know if I can do this, and that lack of confidence is something I think is quite key for the Doctor's personality as well. But I did like it, and it's like I said, it's a great scene, and it's shot really well in terms of like you get the piercing, like ringing sound, and then it just cuts into sort of like there's not completely silence. There is a sort of like a weird, I don't know how to describe it because it's not silent, but there's like a sort of background whir just to let you know that it's not like your TV going wrong or something, I imagine.
Yeah.
But it works really well, and then Maestro uses the tuning fork in the puddle, and there's that great shot from the trailer of the water spraying very slowly. I don't know if you caught this, but there's a great David Bowie reference where as Maestro turns around, they're in the exact same position that David Bowie is on the with the orange hair and everything from Sound and Vision. And they even say Sound and Vision as well as like a little sort of like, see what we did there. That was quite cool. Another cameo as well, which is quite nice, was from June Hudson.
Yes.
As you know, the original, well, one of the designers and costume designers from the classic series. She designed the Fourth Doctor's outfit, and then turned it. And we saw her in Class as well. Do you remember where she in Class?
Yeah. I forgot about Class.
It was your idea.
I purposely buried it in the depths of my mind.
Well, it was your idea.
Yeah, well.
But she goes from catching her husband fiddling with himself on the stairs to then being attacked by Maestro. So,
yeah.
One more thing, going back to the references to the giggle and everything, why is Bi-Generation now being played like it's something much more damaging to the Doctor than it was in the giggle? Because in the giggle they sort of go shoot and they're hugging and it's like, oh my god, haha, nice to see you. And then they defeat the toy maker. But now it's like, oh, I can't go through that again. It tore my soul in half, and we don't really get a glimpse of that in the giggle.
But then it's quite fresh at the giggle, like that no one really knows what's happening because they even say in the giggle, this hasn't happened before. It was supposed to be a myth, so they don't actually know what's gone on. So my thinking is like maybe having both Doctors running around at the same time, like their consciousness is kind of torn between the two. So I mean, we may get a David Tennant episode with Ncuti where they kind of come back together. It might be okay, and
no, I hope
something
not.
Happens. But
as much as I love Tennant,
I hope that doesn't happen because I think there's a better way of going about it.
Yeah, I just think consistency. There's a few little bits like it's to do with like the editing and everything. There's just a few bits that are going right. Well, hang on, just like pick one. Are we pushing the button? Are we not pushing the button? Is Bi-Generation good or bad or like what is it? Because they say it's something that never happened before, but there's no reference to it being like something really traumatic to go through.
No.
And what I even praised in the Christmas special, how like we don't get that sort of usual post-generation like wobbliness and falling about the place and sort of general tomfoolery, whereas it's just like straight into it. And now it's all like, oh, it tore my soul in half, I can't do it again. And I'm like, well, when?
Yeah.
When did I ask? No. I do like the fact that Ruby's got quite a good music taste as well. I think she named up a few artists. She mentioned Sam Fender and Beyonce, and she gives me sort of like Sam Fender, Beyonce vibes. I don't know what it is, but she's got it's good music taste, and she goes to raves. So Ruby's in raves in Prism, because who hasn't done that before back in the day? She's the right age for it because we look at it now and go, oh no. And then when she said I was born in 2004 as well, that must have been very hard for you to hear.
Yeah, yeah, it's rough. I ID'd someone in work one weekend and their ID said 2006. So imagine how I felt. I said, this is disgusting. And they went, why, what's wrong? I went, it says 2006 on your ID. I feel horrendous right now.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
my lord.
there's nothing more humbling than seeing 18-year-olds were born in 2006 when you were born in the 90s.
The 1890s. Another thing that was quite cool, back to Doctor Who and not our age, the bit where the Doctor's doing the Pyramids of Mars reference and showing Ruby, like, you know, you can still, like, history can be changed, and this is what we're fighting against, and that transition into the sort of, I don't even know what you call it, the sort of black void where there's just the piano and the TARDIS,
Yeah.
the Maestro, the Doctor, and Ruby. I quite like that, and I thought, how did they get that so spot on? And it's because it is a practical thing where they are lighting it and they just switch the lights off.
Yeah.
And you don't. And I thought that's quite nice. That was very cool. I did like that. And we get the sort of, that's what I mean. Whether we should have had a bit of a, I think we should have had a number from Maestro there.
Yes.
Cool.
Nearly
little,
did.
nearly. Then like hints of things, but I would have just preferred full on numbers. I mean, I'm not even a big musical fan, but like I say, if you're going to do a musical episode of Doctor Who, go full on musical.
Yeah,
It's
you've
the
got
only
to.
thing the show hasn't really touched before.
Yeah, you've got to throw yourself in the deep end with this one, and as we said, there should have been 2 or 3 more songs thrown in. We're also missing, we've glanced over that actor's choice, I think we should say, at the start of the episode, where Maestro was just eating the music as a
Oh yeah, it makes a
candy
bit of
cane.
a sus
Makes-
noise at the
yes.
start that made us all laugh a little bit.
Yeah,
that was
that was a
quite funny.
choice decision there.
But this is what I mean. Like Jinx Monsoon, she's absolutely brilliant as
Yeah.
Maestro. You know, absolutely just camping it up, and it's a camp part anyway. But you need someone like an award-winning drag queen
Yeah.
to be able to pull off. Because when they announced like Jinx Monsoon was going to be in Doctor Who, I thought, would that like, I mean, I'm not a big drag race fan anyway, but I've seen enough of it, and I've been to a few drag shows and things. But I was like, could that work in Doctor Who? And then you get a part like Maestro, and you think, well, you can't really have. But like, it's such an interesting part, and it's not a normal part for an actor to play. I do like that they play into the non-binary aspects of Maestro as a character, you know, because Jinx, I think, it's difficult because you're trying to make sure you use the right pronouns and everything. Because Jinx, I think, is a she as Jinx. And then Maestro, the character, is non-binary, and Jinx manages to pull that really sort of guttural roar out of her, like near the start. It's like, it's so sad, and then later on she has the really sing-songy voice, and I think playing on that works because it's not playing on it in like a piss-takey kind of way. It's just a fun thing to do with this new character,
Yeah.
and it feels new.
Yeah,
Like the character-wise.
You could not have anyone else play this role.
Yeah, I would be very surprised. I mean, just like I said, it's the campiness of the villain, and it all just works really well. And the different costumes, sort of like having a nod to the toy maker, and then quite a sort of almost male costume with the piano suit and everything, but then a really nice like girly dress and all that.
Yeah.
I think it works. It's a really interesting way of doing it.
Yeah, and it's not often you see Doctor Who with a pantomime-like villain.
No, but exactly, and it's
And it
pantomime,
works
but not
so
in like
well.
like you can say, oh, that's a really pantomime, but not in this
Not
at
in a
all.
not like in a bad way. Like I love going.
Yeah.
See, when I was a kid, I used to love going to the pantomime and seeing just them villains always camping it up and
Yeah.
stuff. And this was that to a like spot on.
Yeah,
For me.
it's a really memorable performance, and I think people will be talking about Maestro as a villain for a while. You know, I can't think of, like I said before, I can't think of the last time we had a sort of one-off villain that had this much of an impact in the show.
No.
I genuinely, I could sit down and probably think about it, but it would take a while. But this is a brilliant performance from Jinx, I'm not going to lie. And, you know, I would like to see her back, but it sort of would be like, would that lessen the impact of them in this? I don't know. I don't know. But I like the hints as well to Ruby. There's obviously a hidden song within here, and the snow comes down again, and it's all to do with Christmas, and something's coming round. What is it? And then we have the music battle, which was very reminiscent of things like Doctor Strange with the notes and everything sort of like coming at each other. Like I said, with that, I would have liked to have a bit more singing, not just like a violin versus a piano.
Yeah.
That was only, but that's only a tiny day. But the Beatles save the day.
Yes.
The
they
Beatles to the rescue.
They do. The Doctor's beaten Jinx, Maestro even, in this music battle, and he's trying to find the lost chord to send them back. And he gets the wrong note, and the piano just goes whoosh
I love
out
the bit
room.
where he's so close to it, and he's like, oh, one more, one more, and then he gets the wrong note, and Maestro's just like, bum note, and the piano flies out.
They get trapped in instruments, and she's just there banging the drum that shooter's trapped in. I was like, yes, just give me more of this, please.
It was great, and the Beatles. I like the fact that because I saw a few people saying that the fact that the Beatles was just working out the last chord felt like a bit like a Deus Ex Machina, but it's literally hinted to in the cafe scene, where Paul's
Yeah.
talking about I just want to find that one thing, and the one note, and they do, and it traps
He even
Maestro.
says it, the holiest note.
Yeah, so it's hinted to right from the start of the episode. So other people going, "Oh, that felt a bit rushed and a bit like," I was like, "No,
A little bit out of nowhere.
it was seeded."
Yeah.
And what else are they going to do? The Doctor's trapped inside a drum.
Yeah, you can't really.
Which is not something I think we've ever said about any Doctor Who
No.
episode before.
And Maestro's there just running around with a ukulele after just laughing because they've done what everyone else would love to do who's a villain.
Yeah.
And stop the Doctor.
I think, it was a great little ending, but it's not completely the ending because we get the full on big musical number.
You have missed a point here.
Have I?
A second, yeah. So as Jinx gets sucked into the piano and taken away, she screams back at the Doctor, "The one who waits is almost here."
Oh yeah, I assume that will be someone towards the end. It could be Susan Twist. I'm thinking more along that line, but then I think that Susan Twist is something to do with the TARDIS. I don't know. It's all these things, and I love that. I love that I don't know.
Yeah, I really want to know.
Yeah.
I really want to know who this one who waits is.
I want to know, but at the same time, I don't want to rush anything.
No, I want it to come out when it needs to come out, and yeah, it's just. It was a nice little thing, and it's just a reminder that Doctor needs to be prepared.
Yeah.
And he's got to just keep looking behind him just in case.
I liked as well on Unleashed where they were showing all the sort of different takes and they were like lots of different lines where Jinx was doing them but in completely different ways. They were all great and sort of performing, even if it's like stuff like The One Who Waits Is Almost Here, did that about 4 or 5 times in just these different ways of doing it. And I was like, that's a talented performer right there.
Yeah.
Speaking of talented performances though, the song at the end, there's always a twist at the end, is so much fun. And I was watching that, I've seen it twice now, and the smile on my face was just the same the second time as it was the first, and it's just because it's fun. And my only little dig with it is that I struggle to work out, to really hear Shooty Gatwa in it that much.
Yeah.
I was like, which I found a bit bizarre, because when he starts singing, I think, is he lip syncing, or is this like everyone singing? But I would have liked to have had a bit more of a, because I heard Millie, when she's singing with Cilla Black, you can hear her really clearly, but I don't think you hear Shooty very well. But they're both in it, and I love the dancing and the shots and the cameos from Shirley Ballas from
Shirley Bassey and Johannes.
Shirley Ballas.
Shirley Ballas. Yes.
Yeah, there's Shirley Bassey.
Shirley Ballas.
We do research. Yeah, Johannes.
I don't know his
I'm not a
last name,
Strictly
but from
fan.
Strictly.
Yeah, that was quite funny.
Yeah, I would have liked to see the Doctor having a bit of a song with the Beatles as well, because you got Ruby with Cilla Black. It would be nice to have the Doctor with the Beatles, or one of them with them playing the guitar or something.
I did love that shot of Ruby singing with Cilla Black, though, and everyone's just crammed into the recording booth, and they're all just twisting away and everything, and it's just, it was just good fun, and I really liked, especially, my favourite bit actually was after the song, after the bit with the rain in the corridor, which all looks fantastic as well.
Yeah.
You have that nice little scene of them just walking back to the TARDIS and just having a tiny little dance across Abbey Road, and it was quite fun because this is obviously to do with Maestro's domain still lingering, like we see in The Giggle, with the ability to pull the hammer out and create another TARDIS and everything. And it's that idea of, although the god has been defeated, that
There's
energy is still
time.
enough there. And especially after all this music's been taken away for so long, of course it comes back in a huge big number and everything. And it just that of them dancing along the Abbey Road in Cardiff's Abbey Road looked really fun. And overall, it's just a really nice end to what is a very strong episode. A couple of little things that I think could have been tweaked and improved on, but overall for me, I still really enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, I loved this. It was great fun. I was after Space Babies, with the constant reminder of they are space babies, I was feeling a bit tired on Saturday night, and I think I looked at this, woke me the hell up.
Yeah.
There was no way in hell I couldn't take my eyes off the screen. Yeah, and Yeah, it was great. I really enjoyed this one.
Yeah, because I think after the first view and watching them back to back, I sort of enjoyed them both on the same level because I was like, hey, new Doctor Who, and it's good. Now actually looking at it through a bit more of a critical lens and like analysis for this, I think Space Babies has gone down a bit and this has gone up a bit.
Yeah.
Whereas before they were both on the same level. They were both good, but now
Yeah.
Space Babies I've got a few more issues with in terms of like sort of bits. But this has shot up a bit more. It's my
Yeah.
favourite Shooty Gatwa episode so far, out of the three we've got.
Yeah, I
But
agree.
I think that could change with next week, though, with the return
Yes.
of Grand Moffat Tarkin to the Doctor Who universe with Boom. Very interested to see from that. We've got a couple of tiny little snippets and things from different whether it's Unleashed or the official Doctor Who podcast, which you don't need to watch because we're here. But there is a little snippet of that, and it feels very like a really dystopian, futuristic war. I think it's the clerics are back because the soldiers have got like their collars, and the Doctor's on a landmine.
Yeah.
How is he getting out of that? He needs Harry Sullivan. That's what he needs to precariously place a rock underneath it. It's fine.
No, I am excited for next week's. This Saturday's.
Yeah.
Actually, now, yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm very, very keen to see where we're going with this series now. Let us know what you think, though, of the Devil's Chord in the comments below.
Yeah, and if you want to keep notified of when we post videos, you can chime in by hitting that. See what I did there? Yeah. Hitting that bell to stay notified. Yeah, I've embarrassed myself on YouTube, not for the first time. And please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this video. Yeah, why not? We're sticking with it.
Like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Like the video. Comment what you think. Comment what you think of us. Actually, don't do that because we're very fragile people. But we'll see you next week for episode 3 of series 1.
Boom!
You're worried about embarrassing yourself when you're doing things like that.
Yeah, I've got problems.
I know, but we love you for it.
I
You thought that Shirley Bassey was in this episode, so that's, something.
Huh?
Oh. See you next week.